Hey dudes, dudettes, Duderinos out there. My name is Lee, and I'm just a dude talking food. If you would, please like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. Feel free to comment as well. All of this really helps our channel grow, and it allows me to keep creating new content. So first, let's address the big question here. Why is Timu Santa on your screen, and what's he going on about? Well, the goal of this channel is to lessen everyone's dependency on ultra-processed food and fast foods. I tend to do this through food discussions, weekly vlogs, and I'll be dropping knowledge about various food-related topics. I'll be teaching basic food preparation and cooking techniques and recipe videos. I'll be trying to get people away from these foods full of chemicals, preservatives, stabilizers, all these things we don't really need in our diet. They're just added to make them look better, taste better, and to trick our brains. So there's also a secondary goal to this channel. I'm very new to vlogging. I'm very new to video creation and editing, and I'll be using this channel to start to learn all that. I'm starting from ground zero, just like a lot of you all are with cooking and eating. So this channel isn't about quitting anything outright or a specific diet. I've got no magic diet. I'm not telling you, lose 30 pounds in 30 days. I've got none of that. But I do have a lifetime of food knowledge, and I've been limiting myself and weaning myself off of ultra-processed foods and fast foods for years. Once you get used to it, you can feel how they affect you, and you'll start to notice this stuff. So the trick to this is, and the reason a lot of people fail this time of year, is that because they tend to make these unobtainable goals. We set these goals that we're going to change our whole lives in one day. It's New Year's Day, and I'm going to eat healthy. I'm going to exercise. I'm going to do all these things. And in 2 weeks, you're back to all your old things. So the reason most people fail is because they set these huge, huge unattainable goals. And that's not where we want to be. What we want to do is start a small progression. We start a foundation. We make small changes in our lives, and then we move forward and make bigger ones. So that's what this is going to be about, making these small changes and then moving forward to make bigger changes. It's just one step at a time. If I had waited till I was 100% ready to make a video and not struggling and stammering here, we wouldn't have a video because I would never be ready. So sometimes you just have to dive in, get started, and we'll get better as we go. My videos will get better, your cooking will get better. So let's start with a little about me. My life has sort of revolved around teaching, mentoring. I've taught and mentored hundreds of people at work, and I've mentored some people throughout my life as well, like life mentoring. My life is centered around food and computers. So I'm sort of combining all of this into one channel because it sort of feels like a no-brainer. I have teaching and mentoring knowledge. I've got a lot of experience with food. I've been on computers since I was 10, almost 40 years. It's sort of ridiculous. I've had a computer in front of me since I was 10 or 11, since the 80s, early 80s. So it just sort of seems that this is sort of a way to combine all of this knowledge into one area where hopefully I can help some people and help myself as well. So let me introduce you also to my co-host. This is Ninja. Ninja is our house cat. She was a shelter cat. We adopted her. One of our roommates adopted her. We got her from the roommate who then left. She was a runt. She's got a lot of medical issues. She's almost 20 years old now. We've really done wonders with her diet and everything. It's really worked out well. And she has sort of struggled with her diet as well. We've had her on multiple diets. She has kidney issues. She has stomach issues. We've never gotten her over 6 pounds. She's a tiny little cat. So this being said, you'll see her around here now and then. She tends to be sick now and then. She's not feeling good today. She's downstairs, but she was just up in the window over behind me over there just a little while ago. So more about me, just to sort of talk about my background and why I'm allowed to talk about food and all of this. So I was raised in the country in New York State. We eat a lot of fresh fish, a lot of game, and a lot of garden-grown vegetables. It was all home cooking. Ultra-processed foods, fast foods were a treat. Maybe once a month. I didn't even get sugared cereal as a kid. And I'm not saying that things have to be taken to this level right away. That's sort of what we were talking about. That's the setup for failure. If you dive into, I'm not going to do all of this right away, it is going to make it next to impossible because you're going to be consciously thinking about everything you're doing. So my mom canned, froze, dried, preserved all kinds of food. So we had all kinds of garden fresh vegetables. We had meats preserved throughout the year. We had a lot of hunting going on in our community, a lot of fishing, and we all sort of shared. So we grew up sort of growing up on all this game and fresh food. Not to say that we didn't ever go to the grocery store. We still went there. We still bought things, but things like frozen foods, frozen meals, pot pies, all that stuff that a lot of people tend to rely on for their daily meals was never really done when I was growing up. Almost all of this stuff were treats. We were allowed some, but it wasn't a daily, weekly thing at all. It was monthly. We would get some treats now and then, but we were growing up on home cooked food. I was also raised on a lot of cooking shows. I mean, there was Jacques Pepin, Julia Child. Those were the legends back then. Then you had a dude named Jeff Smith, who was the frugal gourmet, and he was huge in the late 80s. Then you had Justin Wilson, the Cajun dude, who was always talking about his onions and his Cajun food. I guarantee. And he was a lot of fun to watch. I loved Cajun food, and it was one of the first cuisines I ever learned. Then you also had a bunch of other culinary people who did a lot of different ethnic foods. There was like Yan Can Cook, and he did a lot of Chinese food. There were a bunch of Italian cooks back in the 80s. There was a lot of stuff going on like PBS back in then. And I grew up on all these cooking shows. I was born a foodie. When we had book fairs at school, kids were buying like Hardy Boy books and other, mysteries and books like that. I was buying kids' cookbooks. So I've always been interested in food. As I grew older, this food grew into a profession. I started to short order cook. I worked bar and grill. Then I sort of moved into institutional cooking, which was cooking on a college campus. A lot of processed foods there. We did get to cook a lot of things fresh. We'd make a lot of stocks. We'd make a lot of fresh pasta dishes, things like that. I'd get to make sauces from scratch. But also a lot of times we're taking a lot of things out of boxes and just cooking 600 of them at a time. It wasn't the greatest, but it was cool to learn. I also did line work, which is your traditional restaurant work. Cooking steaks, cooking fish. I worked meat station, I worked fish station. If you've ever watched Hell's Kitchen or any of those, you sort of know what I'm talking about. I've done that line work. I've also done catering. People come in, we throw large parties, we do 80 of the same dishes, that type of thing. I've also done corporate catering, sandwiches, salads, soups, all sent up for like offices and business meetings, that type of stuff. After all of these different areas of foodware over like a decade, or of food service for a decade, I sort of decided that I liked food, I liked cooking, I didn't like the industry, so I sort of got out of it. I got a job as an assistant housewares buyer with a really famous gourmet food store in New York City. And this sort of led to me getting into the more retail side of food, learning about pots, pans, knives, tools, that type of stuff, all the different metal constructions and coatings of pans. And then I got into warehousing, logistics, and shipping of gourmet foods. So I've sort of seen every single aspect of the food service and a lot of retail as well. Then after that, I moved into some computer retail. I did more logistics work. So I've sort of been all over the place. And what I do now is IT work for a large payroll company. I'm what's called a software SME, a subject matter expert. And basically, what I do is I learn software in depth, and then I help people who have questions about that software or answer any technical issues they may have. I help a lot of, we get a lot of tickets for technical problems. I help a lot of people with client issues where they're unable to explain to the client how to use software or a specific function. I'm that subject matter expert that they go to remember to check that box or that they're not checking a box. So this is sort of helping me in my creation of videos here. I'm learning the software pretty quickly. We're sort of fooling around. I'm able to get some different transitions and things. So we're getting it down. It's going to take some time, but just like cooking, just like I said above, it's a skill. You got to start somewhere. You can't just jump into a UFC ring because you want to fight. You have to get some basic skills so that you can actually get into the ring and not die. And that's sort of the same with food. If you don't treat your food well, you can make yourself pretty sick or make other people's pretty sick. So we want to sort of establish those foundations first, and then we'll move forward. So moving forward, what can we expect to see here? Well, I'll be reaching out and producing a multiple series of vlogs. There'll be daily or multiple, there'll be vlogs for basically when every 3 or 4 days I'm going to talk about what my diet is. We're going to talk about what we've bought with groceries for the week, sort of what our meal planning looks like, basic nutrition. And these will be every 3 or 4 days, and we'll be covering a variety of topics. I'll sort of pick topics to talk about. I'll also have topics that we talk about every single time. Like I said, weekly diet planning, daily diet planning, what we go through in our foods. Then I'll be releasing videos on equipment. It'll be different discussions on things like knives, different styles of the metals that they use to create knives. Then we'll be moving on to things like pots, pans, using stoves, using induction, things like that, so that we have our foundation. Once again, we need to know how to use the tools before we're going to go ahead and do it. So this being said, these are the videos that are going to come out first. Once we get out the basic food and equipment videos, then we'll be doing food prep. And food prep, or what's called mise en place, or what we just called prep, is basically how to cut up your veggies, how to cut up your meat, how to treat all this without getting people sick. We'll be handling things like food sanitation, basic cooking sanitation, temperatures, things that you all need to know for these basics so that people don't get sick. Then we'll be moving on to cooking technique videos, things such as sauteing, frying, braising, poaching various ingredients. These videos will show the various techniques that we're going to use when we do these recipe videos. You can't follow the recipe videos if you don't understand the techniques and the tools used. So once again, we're building these fundamental stages. It's just like fighting. You learn to stand, you learn to move, you learn to block, you learn to strike, you learn to put it all together. We're doing the same thing with food. We're learning knives, we're learning pots, we're learning pans, we're learning culinary techniques, and then we're going to put them all together into recipes. Once we do that, then the overall goal is that you'll be able to follow recipes that you find or you're interested in, or literally just free create food because you understand food profiles and the basics. Once we get through all that, then we'll be sort of experimenting because, we can't just do this forever. So one of the things we'll be doing is doing stuff that I've never cooked before. Like maybe I'll do an Indian recipe. I've only ever cooked Indian once in my entire life. I've done many Indian inspired dishes. I've done many regionally or culturally inspired dishes, but I've very rarely done traditional dishes. So we'll start experimenting with some of that. So we'll always be adding to the mix here. And then the most rarest of the videos are going to be our deep dive videos. And these are going to be videos where we'll be introducing very specific topics, such as removing chemicals and dyes out of foods, This is where we'll be dealing with maybe more of our political videos, changes in upcoming laws with foods, things like removing titanium dioxide, yellow 40, red 5. We want these chemicals sort of out of foods that are illegal in most other countries, and we still use them in the US. They make colors pop, they make foods more attractive and more appealing. So, of course, marketers use these, food creation, food companies use these, and they make us buy our product or buy their product by influencing us through appeal. So these are all things we'll sort of be talking about. We'll go into these deep dive videos, and there'll be specific topic videos where we'll go really deep into a topic. The recipe videos, well, let's start. The vlogs will sort of be very loose and informal, sort of like this video is. It'll be less structured. I'll probably be streaming a lot of them live at the time, so we can just sort of talk, chat. It'll be a lot of fun. Then the cooking videos and the technique videos will be a video in video. I will film techniques or film a recipe, and then I'll discuss it and sort of teach as we go moving along. It'll sort of look sort of like this. Hey, yo, I'm cooking here. I'm techniquing. And I'll be commenting. Good luck, dude. Thanks, dude. So we'll be doing stuff like that. I'll be filming from a cutting board angle. I'll be filming down. We'll be looking at different cutting techniques, different food preparation techniques, and then we'll move into cooking and different cooking techniques. The recipe videos will be the same way. All of these videos will be clearly labeled, so we'll know if they're prep, recipe, political, deep dive. This way, if there's something that you don't necessarily want to watch, you'll still be able to. You'll be able to skip those and go to other ones that you want. So by the end, what the real goal is for you to be able to follow your own recipes, create recipes, free-form cook, and to understand food profiles, basic techniques, so that you can literally just look in your refrigerator and cook. Like just the other day, here's a little presentation of things that I've cooked in the last week or so. This was a jambalaya-inspired dish, a Cajun dish. It was kielbasa, rice, some veggies all kind of cooked up and baked. We used some Cajun seasoning and some tomato. And this was sort of a free form. This was Cajun inspired. This was not a traditional jambalaya, but something inspired because I knew how to make the original. Then we'll be covering techniques such as spatchcocking. This is where we flattened out a chicken and roasted it. It sort of makes it so that it cooks more evenly. The dark meat of the legs and the thighs and the white meat of the breast all sort of cook at the same time. It's a great technique for roasting birds like this. Then, over the holidays, I made a shepherd's pie. This was ground lamb, peas, carrots, onions, shallots, and then we did a mashed potato topping and baked it all off. And then just last night, I did potato pancakes. Well, these were potato cabbage, shredded potato and cabbage mixed with egg and a starch, and then we fried them up. So this is the type of stuff that, I'll be demonstrating and showing and posting recipes for in the long run. So hopefully you all enjoy this channel. I'm going to leave you off with like a little funny story here about a time when I lived in Queens and a friend, Kim, took me out for Korean barbecue, literally for the first time in my life. I'd never had Korean barbecue. If you've never had it, it's very different. There's a little grill right on your table. You cook the meat as you go, and you sort of eat it fresh as you go. So we walked into this restaurant. The funny thing is this restaurant was literally 2 blocks away from where I was living. I had no clue it was there. All the windows were covered. You had no idea what the place was. And my friend Kim was like, look, I've been to this place. You gotta come. It's amazing. And I had no clue it existed. Not a clue. So we go, we open the door, and no joke, it was like a movie. I walked in, the music stopped. Everybody stopped talking. Everybody stopped and looked. Immediately, it felt like a movie. It felt like the whole world stopped. I've never felt so out of place in my entire life. The waitress came up and she literally was like, no English, no English, no English, trying to get us out. This was definitely a Korean restaurant for Korean people. My friend Kim busts out fluent Korean. And immediately we get seated. They bring us everything we wanted. They set us up with this huge banquet. It was amazing. And if you've never had Korean barbecue, I really recommend it. It was an experience I'll never forget for the food and because of the way when we first walked in. I swear you could hear the needle scratch like coming off the record. It was one of the most out of place experiences I've ever had. I've never experienced anything like it. Just to have like 50 people all stop and look at you all at once. It was insane. But the food was great. We had a great time. It's something I'll never forget in my entire life. So these are the types of things that we'll be talking about moving forward, especially with the vlogs. They'll sort of be loosely structured. And as I said, I'll sort of be streaming them. This way they'll sort of feel more comfortable, but the recipes and techniques will be very instructional. We don't want those loose. We want those to be more structured than anything else. So with that being said, I just want to say I hope you all have a great day. I want to thank you all for joining me here. Please like, comment, subscribe if you can. This is going to grow. We're going to keep going. I'm going to do this for at least a year no matter what, because I figured it's going to take at least that long to really get a good organic audience going. But I'd really like to help some people and learn some stuff as well. So I hope you all have a great day. I hope you all come back, and everyone have a great one. Peace.